Hi guys, Tuesday video 2. So we left off with the 2 citations for a book and for an online journal article. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find a web article and cite that and also include it in an in-text citation for it. So the last video I didn't have time to look up the information for the publisher and the year, but I did here. So in a real paper, you would go and you just look up where it was published, what publisher it has, and then the year. So, already done that. Okay, the second thing is for a website. You'll want to go to Purdue OWL, and this has all of the instructions for how to cite a website. We're going to look actually at this interview with Romero. So it's a Vanity Fair article, and I'll go ahead and take this quote from it. And this is the actual one by the author, not by Romero. So we'll save that for a later video. So I'll go ahead and copy this and put it here, just like I would do in a paper. And the first thing I do, since this is a direct quote, is I obviously put quotation marks around it. The second thing I do is look for an author. So we go up here, I know it's Vanity Fair Hollywood, and boom, right here, Eric Spitznagel. So I go back to my quote, put his name here, and then I'm looking for what? A page number. So I look, scroll all the way up, down. I don't see a page number at all. Most websites will not have page numbers. So what you do here is you just close your parentheses, add a period, and you're done. Okay? So again, the period goes outside and not here. That's a common mistake. And the second thing you do, so here's the in-text citation. Now we have to provide a works cited entry. So we're doing it alphabetically. So L, M, S. Okay. So we put last name, comma, first name. And if you don't have it memorized, which I don't expect any of you to, have the citation styles memorized. Your brains should be memorizing other things. There, under the MLA electronic sources, it gives you a guide of how to do this. And again, you do not include the medium of access. That's the 8th edition update. So we are not citing an entire website. We're not citing all of Vanity Fair Hollywood, okay? So we scroll down a little bit. We're citing a specific page or a specific article on a website. So let's look at the examples here. And I'm going to go ahead and copy it because it gives me a guide. And then paste it here. So we have author's first name. This one doesn't have an author, so they went ahead and skipped straight to the article title. The order for that is if you have an author, put an author first. It basically in this spot here, okay? If there's no author, the second thing you look for is an editor. And then you would put that again here. If there's not any of that, then you put what the example has done, which is the article title. And I know, again, it's an article title because it's in quotation marks. The last resort would be the web title. And that's the overall website. So you're going from most specific to least specific. You always want to look for an author first. If there is no author, then go to look for an editor. If there is no editor, look for an article title. That's what they did here. Okay? So we have an author, so we don't need to go any further. Eric Spitznagel. And again, last comma, first, period. So now we look for the article title. So it's pretty clearly here. And then this is a little trickier because we're going to have a quote within a quote. Okay? So George A. Romero, who says zombies eat brains? So we put quote, George A. Romero, colon, who says zombies eat brains. So we have the question mark, and I want to double check. So the question mark goes inside. And when you have a double quote, so a quote within a quote, you make these single quotation marks. So these external ones signal that this is an article. This is signals that there's a quote within a quote. So you have this one here, and then you close the whole quote off. Okay, I know it's a lot, but that's the whole article title. Then they have the title of the overall website. So we already know that it's Vanity Fair Hollywood. Okay, and this will be in quotation, or sorry, in italics, because it is, again, the title of the overall website. We have a period here, like they have down here, and then what this is the publisher. So normally for a website, this information is found at the very, very bottom next to a copyright signal. So I'll look, and it looks like this French word is the actual publishing company for Vanity Fair Hollywood. Okay, so I'm going to put that, and I'll go ahead and copy it because it has a little accent mark, and I need to repeat that. And then while I'm here, I'll go ahead and look for a date. You want to get the latest or the most recent date. So it looks like 2014 for both of them, and you only need the year. So we go back to here, we go ahead and paste that. I want it to be the exact same font and size as everything else. And then the one exception, just between these two, we have a comma instead of a period. 2014 was our date. Again, you do not put the medium of access, so we don't have to put web anymore, but we put our date of access. So I'm accessing the list a little bit earlier because I have to make the videos earlier. So I put the day, it is the 10th, and then I put the month, July, and the year, period. All right, one last thing we have to do is it has two lines, so we need to indent the second line. All right, let's get rid of all this. Again, you might write these down, but for the purposes of this, if we use these three sources in our paper, again, if we're direct quoting or we're paraphrasing, we need to include a citation, an in-text citation. So this goes at the very, very end of your paper. It starts on the top of a new page. This is all centered. This would be exactly correct. Okay? So that's how we basically get the quotes on the page. Now let's look at ways that we can integrate them a little bit better rather than just having a quote starting a sentence. Okay, so I have provided some templates here. This one, we'll start with this one, and then we'll look at a couple of more. So when you are quoting something, and I'm just going to type this up on this document. This would obviously not go on a Works Cited, but when you're quoting, there are 3 steps. So the first step is to introduce the source. The second step is to quote or paraphrase the source. And the third one is to connect. So what we just focused on this second step, how to actually get the quote, the direct quote, or the paraphrase from the source into your paper. Okay, so we already covered this step. Now we're going to cover this step in the video, and then throughout the course we're going to cover this one a little bit more. Okay, so when you introduce a quote, there are some templates here that I provided, and I'll put these online. There are basically a couple of different ways you can do this. So you want to make it clear who is saying this quote right off the bat. So the first time that I see the citation, or I see the name, or that I even know you're quoting from another source, should not be in the in-text citation. I should know before I get to the in-text citation that you are quoting a source, okay? So you might have something like according to, and then the author. So according to Spitznagel, or Spitznagel thinks, notes, observes, remarks, rejects, etc. There's a huge list here for you to choose from, okay? Those are called attributive tags because you attribute whatever is being spoken to the speaker. So according to Spitznagel, and then you might say like author of, include, and then include the actual article that you're quoting. And according to Spitznagel, author of George A. Romero, who says zombies don't eat brains, or zombies eat brains. Then you might have the quote itself. so-and-so or whatever's the actual case. So here again is who is the author, what is the title, or why is this person important, why is this person an authority, and then here we have the actual quote or the paraphrase, and this is the connection. So this quote essentially, Spitznagel argues that Night of the Living Dead reflects 1968 phobias concerning viruses or anyone who's different, okay? So this is the analysis part. So it's not enough just to drop a quote into your paper. You need to explain why that relates to your argument. How does it inform your argument? So that would be the 3 steps here. The introduction would be according to so-and-so, an author with whatever. Then you have the quote or the paraphrase, and then maybe in another sentence immediately after, you say, like, here, Spitznagel argues the importance of zombie narratives in their context. Something like that. It'll be different, of course, for each paper, but it is somewhat systematic, especially this introduction part. So, again, make sure I know who's speaking before you have the quote or paraphrase. And then, in that case, if you have, say, with the Montague quote from the last video, let's see if I still have it pulled up. Here's a good example. According to Montague, and this is, again, the first line, to be human is to weep, we have just our page number. So remember how I said add Montague and then the page number? For the sake of not being redundant, we need to only have the author's name once. So even if you have another sentence here right after, like from page 249, then you could have further, she claims another quote, and then you would just put 249. You do not need to repeat her name throughout the entire sentence multiple times, okay? As long as it's clear in the paper that this is coming from Montague, and then again, if I wanted to know who Montague was and what she wrote, then I would match it basically with the work cited, and I could go and look up that book. Okay, so again, introduce your sources. I cannot be clearer with this. And when I say in your papers, introduce your sources, that's what I mean. Okay, all right, so we have these 3 things here. I'll get probably to one more note, but there will be more quoting and citing videos. Do not overquote and do not underquote. So underquoting would be, or underciting your quotes would be plagiarism. Underquoting might be you have no quotes in the paper when you're doing research. Quotes are your friends. Use them, okay? The only caution is do not get too crazy and make the amount of quotes that you use overpower your own voice as an author. So I'm grading your voice and your analysis. I'm not grading your ability to find excellent quotes and string them all into a paper. So you should have more of your own original writing than quotes, all right? I don't see this very often, but the students who I do see this, it's really difficult for them to kind of reverse their thinking. So block quotes are a thing. If you have 4 or more lines of quotation, that equals a block quote. And that we can talk about a little bit later. We don't have time in this video. But basically, stick to under 4 more lines. Let's say you want to quote a longer segment. So this, we'll say, is a source that you want to quote from. And you want to quote maybe this many lines, all right? So we'll say that in a paper, you have all of this, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so you need to quote it, and you'd put quotation marks around it immediately. If you change anything in the sentence, say you take out this clause, parents. If you take out that clause, you need to add 3 dots. This is called an ellipsis or ellipsis points, and this signals to the reader that I have omitted information here, okay? You've taken information out. So let's go back to the original, and let's say you want to add information. So Jennifer Strickland, an important author, this wouldn't be great information to add, but for the sake of argument, let's look at that. You would need to add brackets. We're out of time. I'll see you in the next video.